Okay guys, hi again. I think with this video I'm going to talk about sexuality in all the different dimensions. This is another question by Mike Smith. You probably read it in the comments section where on the video where I asked for y'all's questions. And I think the question was asked from all the dimensions, from a perspective of all the dimensions, specifically in 5D and other dimensions at or above 5D. Okay. So, in 3D, you have a pretty strong, 3D Earth, there's a pretty strong division between masculine and feminine that go along with the way our bodies look and how we procreate. And that is true along mammals as well. But from the perspective of a 3D human, then these divisions are very separate. And in order to get to the lower vibrations of 3D, there was definitely a battle between the masculine and feminine vibrations, or what we classically call masculine and feminine. And in the 3D, 4D, not so much, 5D, 3D, 4D areas, on a bigger scale, on a bigger scale, in 3D, 4D, many things are classified as masculine and feminine. In the case of Earth, it is a feminine planet, primarily feminine vibrations, and therefore, in order to get to the lower vibrations of 3D, it has been controlled by the masculine vibrations. And in the lower vibrations of 3D, Earth, the vibrations of divine masculine and divine feminine, which are very, very different in lower 3D vibrations than feminine and masculine in lower 3D vibrations, then there's created this animosity, this battle to control. And that's was created, and I think it's called the patriarchy, I think is what people call it. I think I've heard that somewhere. But that was simply another part of the procedure to get human beings the ability to get to the lower vibrations of 3D. It was a part of controlling the energy of money, which we will talk about in another video, and education, and religion, and a lot of politics, government. All of those systems were put into place in order to make it possible for the 3D humans, or for you to have the experience of being a 3D human in the lower vibrations of 3D. Now, as we come back up out of those lower vibrations of 3D, then there's going to be a bringing back or fortifying of the divine feminine and masculine. Now, when it comes to human beings in 3D, 4D, there is a connection that whether you're in a male body or a female body, again, we'll probably talk about that aspect in another video, because I don't know whether I'll talk about it in this one or not. But there's also been kind of a way for people to remember what the highest vibrations of love feel like. And that is, and I'm going to put a disclaimer on this, so stop anyone who's a younger person don't let them listen to this because it's going to get just a tiny bit graphic. But when you, let's pause. When you have people that describe a near-death experience, and frequently they'll say things like, who have really gone to the higher levels, they'll frequently describe feeling a feeling of love that they cannot express. Well, I will express it. And I think I know why most people don't express it. And some of them may not even be able to identify it, but I can. And I want y'all, anybody who's had a relationship with anyone, it doesn't matter whether it's the same sex or not, that if you're in the middle of making love, and I do mean making love, not just having intercourse, I mean making love. And when you get to that point where you are very close to this person, that you really come together as one, and you're really understanding and almost to the point of feeling how the other person is feeling. And when you hit that point where you climax together, usually it's together or very, very close to each other, there is a unique feeling of completeness. It's a feeling of ecstasy in that completeness. Well, when I went to a certain level and could access what I consider the true vibrations of love, that feeling was there. But it was magnified many millions of times over, because you have that feeling of ecstasy and connectedness with everyone and everything. And people want to know why I was unhappy to be back here. Well, if you've ever had that experience, multiply it that it happens continuously and much, much, much more powerfully. Now I know that that feeling was a way of when you did connect with someone else in that intimate way, that you did get a feeling of that ecstasy of being in complete oneness with another person to remind you of home. Because women tend to be, not always, don't attack me, but they tend to be, as a general rule, more into connecting on some higher level during sex than men. Usually it's a big joke. You have to touch a woman's brain, her heart. You have to go deeper than just physical frequently in order for her to be satisfied. That we're kind of the strongest way of getting to this point. Okay, now I don't know that much about tantric love, but I think that that's kind of what they're doing when they teach that, is touch on that moment and that feeling of oneness. And that is why that once a woman instinctually is looking for something other than just intercourse. And then once, whether you're male or female, once you've experienced that moment, you definitely want it back again. That intercourse without that feeling is just not the same. It's a different thing. Not that there isn't a time and a place for just straight up intercourse, I get that, but there is a longing for that moment to be extended. And usually with a woman, that's somebody that's having intercourse with somebody that they care about to get to that point. Now, we have been given that moment to remind you of where home is. Now, when you go into the lower levels of 3D, that moment is really hard to find. Really hard to find. That there's so much fear and worry and anger and all of those lower vibrations, that it makes it even harder. It has made it even harder for people to connect at all, let alone that deeply. As we are back into 4D now, it will be easier for that to happen. And for any man or woman that is listening to me, I would encourage you to try to get those moments back, because that feeling will definitely help you get to 5D. And I think that was Mike Smith's question, whether sexuality and sex helps you get to 5D. And it certainly does when you connect on that level. Now, it can also shoot you right on back to 3D and 4D if you don't intend and visualize and aim for the timelines towards 5D. Because it's very easy to go into a conditional love. Well, she didn't care for me, and look what they did earlier today, or last week, or last year. It's very easy to start ramping that stuff in your head. And when you do that, you definitely are not going to reach that moment with that person or anyone else. So you need to really visualize that that's what you're aiming for. I think that probably studying up a little bit about the tantric sex and the energies involved definitely would help you do that. So if you have a partner that, whether they're into what I'm talking about or not, does not keep you from kind of directing the lovemaking in that direction to make it happen for the two of you. And the more that you do that, certainly the better off that you will be. Also, there's just a general, well, this is true with anything and everyone. This is even in the Bible, where it says, where two or more of you gather together, there I will be also. And basically, this is a basic concept that if two people can come together with a shared belief, perspective, and goal in mind, intention in mind, that intention becomes much more powerful with the two of them than it does with one person alone. So whether it is that you get together with a girlfriend and intend good or bad, or a best friend or lover, then that intention becomes much more powerful by the two of you coming together, and that's exponential. Now, that does not mean that I'm advocating orgies, okay? Definitely not where most of you are right now. Is it possible? Sure, anything's possible. All things are possible, but especially in the United States or most of the first world countries, but about all of the countries, that sex has been there's so much stigma around sex itself that it's kind of been taken to a bad place, which of course would be a good plan of action if you're trying to cut off a whole bunch of creator gods from remembering where they're going. Certainly. So you don't want them to even come close to touching on that feeling of ecstasy that might trigger them to remember home. So, great plan. Remember, humans asked for that so they could reach the lower vibrations of 3D. But as you come back up, it is definitely a very effective way of strengthening your desire, your choice of going to the fifth dimensional timelines and vibrations. Okay, this is 15 minutes long, so I think I'll cut it off there, and we'll go into some more things in regarding sex out in the dimensions, higher, and all the different perspectives and timelines, as well as sexual identity, which were two other questions that Mike Smith had. Okay? Huge hugs to everybody. If you have any questions or comments, just write to me below or to my email, and I will be happy to answer them. I love you all so much, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye now.